I'm Evonne Smulders. I live in Black Diamond, Alberta, which is a rural community outside of Calgary. I work with clay. I'm a ceramic artist. I'm a grandma, and that is, to me, one of my most important jobs that I do. I'm involved in my community. I sit on the sustainability committee, really pushing to change some legislation around grey water and rainwater harvesting in my community, because we live in an area that's so arid, so I feel that's really important. I have a booth at the Millarville Farmers Market, and I have a threefold reason for that. And the first reason is I have competition. The first reason that I like to be at the farmers market is it's the exposure to permaculture, because I find the most questions I get when people come up to my booth is, what is permaculture? I'm really excited and I'm really passionate about educating people about permaculture. So it's like a big visit-a-thon when you go to the farmers market, and you see people themselves getting excited about permaculture, and you give them information and you sign them up for the newsletter, and on the side I may sell them a few wet pots and some worm castings. But it's about making that connection with people in my community. I've been gardening for 35 years. I've worked in a greenhouse. I've done a lot of designing as an artist. Gardening is not only the practical skills that you have to be able to put the seeds in the ground, but it's about being able to have the vision of what's being created as it grows and when it comes to harvest. I feel that aesthetic is such an important aspect of our lives and how we live. It's, we eat food for nourishment, but we also need to nourish our souls. And I think aesthetic is really important for that aspect. We birthed Sage Permaculture this summer, and that's our new moniker. It's myself and my husband Robert, who has been a builder for 30 years, really incredibly passionate about alternative building sources and alternative buildings, and he really has been the driving force for me around trying to look at creating skill sharing with younger people. He is absolutely passionate about that, and it has really rubbed off on me that we now see ourselves as wanting to really develop a lot of opportunities for younger people to connect with older people who may have more life skills, more knowledge, more all of those things under their belt, and to be able to not formally teach it to younger people, but to hold the space for them and allow them to go in, and they may make mistakes. And right now while we're recording, you can hear in the background the sound of a project going on right now, which is the roundwood timber structure with the reciprocal roof. And I think that's a really good example of that sharing of knowledge. You have a couple of old-timers who have come in and they're just overseeing the project, and the younger guys are in there and they're doing the work. I just think that as elders in a community, that our most important job is holding space. Well, right now it feels like so much of everything is on hold because I'm organizing the Western Canadian Permaculture Convergence this year. It's very much like birthing a baby, and it's been in the works for the last year. At the last Convergence, I hadn't even taken my PDC yet, and they were asking who's going to host Convergence next year, and I went, me, we're going to do it. And then I left Convergence going, now what do? I don't even really understand what Convergence is. So I've spent the last year really embracing the nature of what a permaculture convergence is, and how important it is for a community to host that. My husband and I have really made a lot of the other people involved a bit crazy, because we have this new vision of what a convergence should look like, and we feel that when you host a convergence in your community, that you not just host it, bring people together, they leave like nothing happened, that you bring those people together, you create not just community, but you create infrastructure in a place, so that when you leave, that infrastructure stays. So I'm talking things like cob ovens, roundwood timber frame buildings, rocket mass heaters, and gardens. And so all of a sudden, you've left a legacy for the community where you work. So now permaculture remains strongly fixed in that community. So next year, what will happen is a new community will take on Convergence, and they will do the same thing. And they will create this really low impact site that now becomes a model for their community. So hopefully with each Convergence, what we're going to see is we're going to see all these great permaculture sites that are left behind for the community to learn about permaculture. A year ago, when I stuck my hand up so enthusiastically and I was like, oh, I'm not sure I know why. This is crazy. I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know what I'm doing. But I think deep down in myself, I felt that it was time that we started connecting that really strong urban permaculture presence with the rural community. So this year at Convergence, we really have a convergence of people from all different walks of life. We have a huge age factor happening. We got really young people. We have people who are retired. We have people who have lived on the land for 100 years and are now searching for a better way to steward their land, because they want to know. They want to know what's going on. We see the melding of all these cultures coming together, and I think my butterflies are about the fact that it's going to be powerful. I think as a woman, and a very strong-willed woman living in a man's world, taking a permaculture course has given me a sense of empowerment and also a sense of enabling. As a grandmother, I really believe that it's really important to take what we have learned in our life and to be able to pass that on to the next generation. That's something I'm absolutely passionate about, and having taken my design certificate, I found that it's given me tools to take all of that wisdom that I've gained in my life and create something that I can give away. Sometimes I think that we come from a culture where we're a bit overeducated, and sometimes that blocks the real important stuff from coming out, and we tend to take it to a level of feeling that we need to have approval from certain types of institutions. And I could see throughout the course, Rob as an instructor was really not just teaching us about breaking that down, that he himself was breaking that down. And I'm sure every time Rob teaches that course that he breaks down those structures a little bit more in his own life. So for me, the sign of an excellent teacher is one that's not only teaching, but is learning at the same time. I have to say my most favorite part was doing the design. To be able to have the freedom to go out on a piece of property and to dream. And that there, you know, the landowner would had certain parameters, and you know, sometimes parameters can stimulate creativity because it gives you the edge of your canvas that you're working within when you're doing a design. And to be able to have that comfort and that support of still knowing that you could make mistakes. And I love that, because then you're able to really step out and you're able to go, yeah, what if we could possibly put this in place? And it allowed you to do that still within the safety of the course. I love that. And that was the good side of it. The bad side of it was that it caused insane chaos in my life, because every weekend I would go home and it was like, I have to do all of this, and I have to do all of this right now. And yeah, it did. It caused this swirling, sucking eddy of chaos until I realized that there's enough time to do everything, and that we just have to just allow this to unfold slowly and naturally. Wow, I think I went through every emotion possible, from rage at this crazy world that we live in, to extreme hope, to overwhelming emotion and gratitude, to holy shit, how am I going to do all this work? You know, it was just that whole gamut of emotions, and allowing yourself to really open up and embrace that. I found that absolutely invigorating. I've come from a time, you know, the 60s and the 70s, where things are very different than the young generation growing up now. And a lot of the permaculture principles and a lot of the community building and a lot of the ideas were things that we already had done in our lives, but we had put on hold because we became part of the machine. And we became part of, you know, the big economic driver to, you know, buy the house, get the car, raise the kids, save for retirement, all of that. And it was like taking the permaculture design certificate course brought me back to what I truly believe. And, you know, those are my roots. And somehow every time you get taken away from what you really believe, something does tend to appear that pulls you back to the things that are really important. What would I say to a prospective student? I would say hold on to your hat, because your life will be changed. I don't care where you come from or what you believe, you're going to walk away from taking a permaculture design certificate course either being totally angry, or you're going to be so inspired, because you're going to be exposed to so many things that you've wondered about, but you've never really been able to take it to a deeper depth of knowing